All right, we're live. So, welcome back, everybody, to episode 7 of the Lenny Poliziani show. We got
Ooh.
Marlon Johnson, the Mindset Marlon, on the scene today, man. I'm excited to have you, bro. Thank you for making some time this evening.
Bro, always and any time, man. I'm excited to be here. You already
Yeah,
came
yeah.
in. The conversation before we even went live has already been like hot. So I'm excited for this, man.
I was gonna say we're a couple minutes late because we got into some real estate talk and some deals, but so we definitely got to connect after the show. But man, it's always something with you. So definitely want to get you on here, man. I think that in the realm of business, but mindset, we're on similar paths. You're doing a lot of cool stuff. You have a podcast as well, Into the Mind. You're running Morning Mindset Coffee, which I'm a part of, which is awesome. I mean, for anybody out there that just wants to figure themselves out, deep dive, build a foundation to take on life within business, outside of business, man, it's something that's helped me recently, and it's game changing. So I know you got other stuff you're working on as well. I'll let you take on and
Always,
and introduce yourself, bro.
always, man. I appreciate that. So,
Yeah,
what's going on, everybody? My name is Marlon Johnson, aka Mindset Marlon,
boom.
and yeah, originally I'm from New York, but I'm living out here on the West Coast in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. Really down in Gilbert. I'm a real estate investor, full-time entrepreneur, former parkour athlete, and I'm heavy into
Mm,
mindset
mm,
because really mindset has changed my life when I started understanding what this thing could do. When I started understanding the power of the
yeah.
mind, I'm talking like day and night difference, total 180 from the trajectory that my life was going. So I am always sharing that message, spreading that word.
Did you legally change your name yet to Mindset Marlin?
Not yet, bro. I'm working on getting it trademarked, man. Go buy the
Nah, I love it.
websites.
Yep,
Somebody,
yep.
someone's buying the website right now. Someone's like, "Yo, let me buy Mindset
I
Marlin."
was gonna say
So
you better trademark that right away. But yeah, man. Well, listen, I know how deep you are in it, and that's something. Honestly, I'll be completely authentic here. It's something that I always had in me. I was always talking deep, always felt different, but I didn't know how to express it. And obviously, I'm in business for myself and took that path, but I thought I focused enough on it, building from within, but I didn't until recently, and things have just changed recently for the better for me because I've taken those steps. When did you start on this journey of I guess building yourself up and focusing, from within?
yeah, man. Well, for myself, I would say something similar to you, right? Like I've always been a pretty self-reflective human,
Hmm.
always asking questions, asking why, trying to figure out the meaning of everything since I was a little one. However, the journey really for me started around the time I was 18. Lenny, what happened? Check this out. This is a pretty it's such a simple story, but it's the truth. When I was going through high school, I would show up to school in the mornings really early, zero period, right? So before school's on, like 6:45 in the morning, I'm
That's early.
showing up
Yeah.
to weightlift, right? Gotta go
Ooh.
get these guns, right? And what happened was I didn't eat breakfast in the morning, man. So after weightlifting, I'm just like exhausted. My body is drained. So I'm sitting in first period class, just head on the desk, knocked out.
Mm,
People
mm.
would walk over to me, "Hey, yo, what's going on? What's wrong, man? What's wrong?" Nothing. No, 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 man. It's right. You can tell me what's wrong. Yo, nothing's wrong. No, no, no. You can talk to me. Now I'm pissed off because you just asked me the same question 3 times. So now like I'm catching an attitude with people.
Yeah.
So this is like a daily routine. I'm like catching an attitude with people early in the
Whoa.
morning. And after lunch, man, after I'd go and just eat, I'd be good. So now I'm back to being bubbly and being cherry. I'm happy.
Mm.
And so now like I'm on a high again. So as you can imagine, like all my friends, everyone in school is looking at me like, yo, this guy's on a roller coaster. Like in the morning
Ooh.
times, he's pissed off. In the afternoon, he's happy. And I'm not thinking much of it, man, until graduation time. So you know about high school superlatives, most likely to succeed, most
Yeah.
likely to do this, do that. I got a superlative, man. See, my peers, all my friends, everyone in my school, they thought I was the moodiest.
Whoa.
That's how I was labeled leaving high school.
Whoa.
Yeah, like,
Wow.
and like it didn't hurt my feelings or anything, but it was just like kind of a slap in the face for me. It's like, bro,
Hmm.
your school, your friends, everybody sees you as just like this moody person. Like, do you really want to walk around the world being the moody guy?
Whoa. Dude,
And
and let me just pause right here because,
yeah,
I've only known you recently, and I was gonna say you're the most steady person I know. I mean, consistent wise and personality. So this is crazy. Keep going.
yeah, man. I mean, now I am. So what happened right after that label hit me? Honestly, like for some reason that stuck with me. Like I didn't really express it. I didn't like ask anyone, why are you calling me moody? I just, sat with myself and like asked myself, why would they label you moody? Like, why would everyone unanimously decide that you're a moody person? Must mean you're acting a certain type of way. And
Mm,
so I asked myself, why am I acting this way? Right? Like, why am I allowing myself to be pissed off in the morning? Why am I allowing myself to catch an attitude? So I found myself with this opportunity going into college where, you know what? I'm going to a brand new school. Nobody here knows me. I was going to my local community college. I wasn't going to see any of my friends. Everyone else was going away.
mm,
And I had the opportunity to totally reinvent myself.
mm,
And so I asked myself this question of like, do you have to be upset in the morning times? Like, is that like a requirement? Can you just not do that anymore? And can you just be happy? Like, can you just be a happy person? And I experimented. I said, you know what? I'm gonna only be happy. I'm just gonna always stay happy. I'm not gonna have any more bad days. I'm not gonna have bad mornings. And I'm just gonna convince myself to be happy all the time. And Lenny, you know what I found out, bro?
hmm,
I found out it is totally possible to do that. It is totally possible to just brainwash yourself into positive thinking because I found
mm,
myself a few months in, and one day it occurred to me. I was just like randomly sitting there eating like some lunch, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't had a bad day since high school. Legitimately, like I have not had a bad day. And it wasn't that things bad weren't happening. I just wasn't bothered by it. I wasn't fazed by it. And that's when it clicked that I had changed something about myself fundamentally.
and were you reading or looking into anything, or was this just like a self decision out of the blue one day?
So it was a self decision. And with that self decision, I decided here, this is legitimately the brain process. Like this was the conversation I was having internally. No joke. People always talk about brainwashing, how TV brainwashes you, how movies brainwash you. Marlon, could you just brainwash yourself for something that you actually want versus being brainwashed for something you don't want?
Ooh,
That was literally the
ooh,
conversation I had with myself. So I was like, well, you want to be happy? Why don't you just watch happy things? And I, no joke, this is where I started finding out about guys like Tony Robbins, right?
mm,
Dean Graziosi, Les Brown, Eric Thomas, right? I started finding these guys on YouTube and I started watching their content. I just started
mm,
absorbing their material. This is all I would watch. This and
mm.
parkour videos. I would just watch these two things. And before I knew it, it was just becoming a part of me. And I successfully brainwashed myself. And I was like, whoa. When it clicked, I was like, yo, that worked.
Wow,
What else can I do? What else can we convince ourselves to do?
wow. That's crazy, and obviously I didn't know any of this, and it makes total sense because we're not aware, we're not focusing on this. We just think it's normal, growing up, and what's put in front of us, or what's the majority of out there on the in the media and everything like that. And not, I don't feel like anybody's trying to be negative, but that's what people like to hold on to. It seems like news, that's what people want to see. So that's what's broadcasted out there, and that's what you're watching, unless you go searching. But that's something that I realized recently too, because I just thought, humans are just naturally negative, or hold on to that. But it's really not the case. It's like working out. I've been working out for 10 years now, and um I'm still working out, and it takes a while. I wasn't good at it at first. I didn't like it. I didn't feel like this was right. I was weak. You got to build this muscle up. And how old
Dude,
are you right? And how old are you right now?
100%. So I'm 28 years old now. So I've been diving deep down this,
We're the same
bunny
age.
hole
So
for the
it's
last
been 10 years you've been
10
working on
years.
it.
A decade, man.
Hmm.
A full-on decade. I got obsessed, bro.
And you had to
Like,
unprogram basically 20 years, you could say, of what was in front of you, and that's why it's so hard. And I think it was on the morning mindset, and this was one of the topics one day, and I chimed in, and we're constantly fighting that because we've had more of our lives with, I don't like to use the word wrong, but what we chose to bring into our lives, and I don't blame anybody, but you got to unprogram yourself from that. And this is a totally, I guess, less popular, way of thinking.
dude, you like so you're like right there, you're scratching that surface. Like that's an iceberg right there, bro.
Mm,
Because those early years are such formative years. Because when people start to understand, so Len, you got to understand when I changed, when like I legitimately found out like I changed, and it was an internal thing where it was just like, whoa, like I am always happy now, like always for the most part.
yeah,
Like, and people, you recognize this, right? You've known me, and you're like, dude, really? You used to be moody? People see it. Like I'm always positive. I carry a positive vibe with me
yeah,
everywhere I go, right?
yeah.
So when I realized that this flip happened and this switch happened, I got so even more curious on like, well, what was that? How did that happen? Right. And I found this book by Napoleon Hill called Think and Grow Rich. Right.
Mm,
Because I thought I figured this all out on my own. Actually, it's funny. There's a guy by the name of Earl Nightingale who wrote Strangest Secret. And he actually says this. He says, when a person changes for a time being, they are going to be convinced that they're the first person to figure this out. Right. Because it's so life altering. It's so like, oh my
it's like
gosh.
it's
Like,
like it's like stepping on Mars, man. It's
yeah,
it's out there.
everything about the world changes. So I got obsessed and I started to study and I started to learn about the relationship between the conscious and the subconscious mind. And now the reason I bring this up is because we're speaking about, those first 20 years of programming. Well, really, in those first 6 to 8, those are even more crucial than even the rest,
Mhm.
because during that time, your conscious mind hasn't fully developed yet. It hasn't
You're
fully
a
come into play.
sponge.
So
Yeah.
there's not this barrier preventing information from going straight to the subconscious. So the subconscious is literally just taking everything from its environment, everything. This is why, you speak English, right? Because you were around English speakers growing up, right? Had someone dropped you off in China while you were growing up, you would still look the same, but you
Sure.
would speak fluent Chinese
Mhm.
because it just would have gotten right into you. It would have gone, so you wouldn't have had to go through the conscious barrier. There
Mm,
would have been no limitation to the information and the data coming in.
mm.
So I'm big on what we feed to our children, what we allow them to watch, what sort of environment we put them in, and then also what we give to ourselves, what we allow to pass through that membrane.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, no, it's so important, and the younger you are, that's why they say, as you get older, I don't know if it's harder to learn, but it's a different type of learning, and unlearning. You change. And you're like you mentioned, you're like a sponge at those younger years. So it's so important. And this is one of the things, I've thought of before. If you have kids and they're in a school district, or they're teachers, you don't know what they're learning, and they're there most of the day. And I always was like, why are some, people homeschooling their kids, even these really high level people? And it's not that they want to just, shy them away from the world, but it's so important that they build this foundation of, positivity and the right way of thinking. um but this is not taught, or this is looked at as different or weird, but I mean, it's
Yup.
crucial.
So check this out, right? When I started getting obsessed with this, I
Yeah.
started to study even more, right? I started to study success, right? I got just like hooked
You're
on it. I was
hooked.
just like, I want to know how to become even more successful. I want to know how to create things. I want to know how to live life at a higher level. So this led me on a journey. And in the most recent years of my journey, like you mentioned earlier, I have my podcast, Into the Mind. I thought, where best to get this information than from people who are actively living and
Yeah.
embodying these principles that I'm
we're
learning about
yeah,
currently.
we're down here. I mean, we just started this journey. There's people up here.
Dude, there are people who have been living this, like living this deep for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. There are people who had been brought up in this information, which is even more fire, right? The same way
Mm,
our children will one day be raised because of what we're learning. There are
mm,
people who've already gone through that, their first, second, and third generation on this sort of thought process. When we look at the ultra wealthy, right? The families that have not been able to obtain wealth for one generation, but have been able to obtain it, grow it, and multiply it generation after generation after generation. That doesn't happen on accident. That is a very, very clear indicator that not just finances were passed on, but principles, right? A
dude.
way of thinking was passed on with each generation. Because when that way of thinking does not happen, what happens is the money will pass through to the next generation, but it will be squandered.
Mm-hmm.
Like it will like when people are like, "Oh man, he was just born rich." I'm like, if he still has the money, guess what? That means he is rich. He is wealthy because he understands or she understands something.
There's a big misunderstanding there. You know,
Yep.
oh, you were born in the money, and yeah. Listen, if you definitely that gives you an upper edge, a head start, but that will go away really quickly if you don't know how to manage it. You don't have the right mindset, dude. You could have millions of dollars and spend it all and be broke very quickly, especially in today's day and age. So it's up here,
It's
you
oh
know.
my gosh. It's
It's
all up here.
Yeah,
This is the key.
we're all the same. Listen, it's we're all human beings, but and that's what like opened up this whole world of like abundance and positivity for me, because I didn't really understand that. I thought that there was a disadvantage and advantage. People were different, but when I started focusing on within, and I had to, not to get off topic, but I wasn't finding the success, in my life or business that I thought I would have, by now, and I thought I would be at this certain level, and I thought the results or the time would get me there. But if I didn't level up, from my mind, there, I could do this for 20 years, and yeah, I would probably, have some success, but not nearly where I have dreams to be, and it's like we keep saying, it's all up here, and if you have this aligned and you have the GPS on track,
It-
um watch out. It really is an infinite, there really is an infinite abundance out there.
Man, I love that. Check this out. Because I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
Especially what you said, where it's just like you could, you would achieve some resemblance of success. You'd get something. And I was speaking with Danny Chavez, 2 weeks ago at Clever, and this guy runs massive businesses, has over 800 employees, doing the whole nine-figure earner. And he said something that was so crucial. Like a few of us were just talking. I was lucky enough that a buddy of mine, I didn't even know who the guy was. A buddy of mine tapped me on the shoulder, said, "Go talk to that guy right now." And I was
Boom.
just like, you know what? When I know someone good tells me to go talk to someone else, and I don't know who they are, I'm not even going to ask. I'm just going to go start talking to them.
Dude, and
And that was one of
that's
the
a
most.
skill. That's not easy to do. You have to train yourself to do that. A
Oh,
lot of people,
absolutely.
overthink that.
It's what, when the vibes are right, like follow that feeling,
The
follow that
energy, bro.
feeling.
Don't listen, go with the flow. The more that I'm learning
Totally.
about this, it's natural energy. You got to go towards it.
Dude, it's natural. So I go and I talk to this guy. I have no clue. I'm just like, hey, I'm Marlon. He's like, I'm Danny, and I'm like, I gotta be honest with you. I got no idea why I'm standing here talking to you, man. But my buddy tapped me on the shoulder, said, "Go talk to that guy." So, I like your hat, and like we sparked up a natural conversation. Eventually, got the ball rolling, and he's doing very well for himself. Obviously, like I said, 800 employees, and he said something to me like in his closing remarks. We're hanging out talking 15, 20 minutes before he had to run and catch a flight. He says, "Don't ever become so poor that all you have is money."
Wow.
And I was just like, wow. Don't ever become so poor that all you have is money. And what we spent a lot of time speaking about was just really this power that's up here, the power of the mind, recognizing that this is the real gift. The real gift is being able to create these ideas, bring these ideas into the world, being able to help other people. He has a son, a 6-year-old son, and he was teaching his son how to do math, Lenny, teaching him how to do big math. He said, like, we don't do 1 plus 1. We're doing 100 plus 100, 200 plus 2,000, right? 10% of 1,000. He's like, I want him comfortable with big numbers, right? This is how the wealthy are teaching their kids. I want him comfortable with big numbers. And his son starts doing this. He says, what are you doing? He's like, I'm counting. He's like, yeah, but what are you doing with your hands? Well, I need this to count. He's like, no, you don't. He's like, no, I do. Like, I need to be able to count on my hands. And his son's on the spectrum as well. This is what he says to him. Put your hands down. Imagine your hands in your mind. Count on the hands that you're seeing in your head. And I was just like blown away. I was like, wait, what? He was like, I teach my son to see everything in his mind and then to use what he's seeing in his mind.
Wow.
This is how the next level is working. This is how the next level is teaching their kids.
They're not placing limits on it.
None.
Yeah, they're not following what is structured. That might work. That's put in place. It might be outdated, whatever. But why place a limit when you have this up here? And the power of it. Where what is it? We use 3% or 5% of our brain on average. We have something up there we don't understand. Like, it's bigger than the universe itself. But we put society and learning and expectations in a box, and just even if you're 1% outside of that box, man, the results you're going to achieve and get, and that's just having a little bit more positive or abundant state of mind. It's really simple. It is really simple.
You know what? And that's why people miss it. It's because it's simple, right? It's because it was given to them for free.
The only time I've struggled in life is when I complicated things.
Dude, I'm the same way, man.
Crazy.
The simple things. There's an acronym, right? Most people know the acronym KISS, right? KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it
right?
simple.
We just gotta keep it simple. So check this out. I'm gonna break this down. Is it all right if I share something with everybody?
Please do, bro.
All right, so check this out, right? I want everyone to understand something you already know. What happens is we think we're using our minds. We think we're using like all of our talent, right? Because we got these 5 senses, right? We got these 5 senses, and I wish I had like a whiteboard to show everyone this, but check it out, right? If they could see my hands, right? We're gonna use my hands. We'll use my real
visualize
hands,
this.
hands.
Yeah.
So our 5 senses, what do we know what they are? We got smelling, we got taste, we got touch, we got hearing, and we have sight. Right? We use these 5 things to navigate the world. If they exist within one of those 5 realms, we consider that to be something that's real. It's something that feeds our brain data, right? So I'm constantly interacting with my environment through my 5 senses. When this happens, the information in the data comes into my conscious mind, right? I'm consciously aware of the computer screen. I'm consciously aware of the audio, of the sound of my voice. I'm constantly aware of touching the desk, smelling the flowers in the room, all of this. And it starts to form an idea in my mind, in my conscious mind, an idea forms, right? The picture of the car, the picture of your friends, the feeling of being hugged, all that creates an idea bubble in your mind. So let's imagine this bubble forms inside of your mind with an idea, just based off of what your senses told you from the outside world. When that idea stays there long enough, it gets impressed upon the subconscious mind, right? So it passes from the conscious mind, from the high level awareness into your subconscious mind, right? If every day you start to see your mom come home at 5 o'clock, right? Eventually, subconsciously, you get used to this idea that mom comes home at 5, right? 5 o'clock, like your body starts to get hardwired, or you eat lunch every day at 12 when a certain bell rings at school. You start to get hardwired. You subconsciously are hardwired to 12 o'clock. Your body starts to get hungry, right? Because this idea has been impressed into the subconscious mind. What's really cool about this, and what I want everybody to understand, this is what's so cool about the subconscious mind. When the subconscious mind receives a thought or receives an idea, whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, the subconscious mind must express. It must express that idea. It has no choice in the matter. It simply must express it. And when it expresses it, it does it through the only vehicle it has, which is your body, right? It puts your body into what we call a vibrational frequency. So when your body is now vibrating in a frequency, it's on a certain vibration, on a certain frequency, you go around into the world and you interact with the world, right? This is called taking action, right? You walk, you talk, you say hi to things, right? You interact with the world. And based off of the frequency you're on, and now the fact that you're taking actions, you produce something. You produce something called results.
Mm.
The results you make will have either a positive sign or a negative sign attached to them. A lot of people think the positive or the negative is coming in direct correlation to the action. But in fact, it's coming in direct correlation to the vibration or frequency that you are in. This is why two people could do the exact same thing and get two totally different results, right? One guy, look, let's say we have two guys in a room and we tell both of them to go walk up to a girl and just say, hi, introduce themselves. Hi, my name is blank, right? Both guys go and do it, but the girl says, yeah, it doesn't give time of day to one person and gives time of day to the other person. What was the difference? They approached her in a different vibration. One guy may have carried himself with a little bit more confidence, a little bit more swagger. He was on a positive vibration. Same action, different vibration, creating a different result. Now that that result is in the environment, that results in the world, what happens is we start to pick it back up through our five senses, through our smelling, touch, taste, hearing, and sight. So we've just completed a loop. If anyone was following, we just completed an entire feedback loop. So this idea came in, went to the subconscious mind, got expressed through the body in a vibration or a frequency. You took action, produced a result. Now that result is in your environment to feed back into your conscious mind as a new idea. So this is how people start to get into either negative or positive spirals. Right? Most of the time we see this in the negative. We see people get into negative spirals. We see if someone's coming from an abusive house, a violent home, right? It's no wonder why, they end up fighting. They end up doing things. We're like, well, yeah, that makes sense. They're in an angry, abusive place. Of course, that's going to get into them, right? So we ask people to change. And sometimes we're asking them to change, but they're in a situation, let's say they're young or they don't have enough resources or money where they can't change their environment. They're like, I can't just pick up and walk out. I got 3 kids to take care of. I got my sick parents to take care of. I got this, I got that. I get it. Some people cannot just physically get up and walk out and change their environment.
They're blaming the external environment. They're looking in the wrong
the
place.
External environment. And the reason they're doing that is because they were never taught about their internal mental faculties, right? So they don't just have 5 senses to work with. That's surface level. That's elementary. Like that's kindergarten. Let's graduate, right? You actually were given a whole nother tool bag, right? This is just like being given a screwdriver and told to build a house. You've got power tools over here. Like can I let people know that they have power tools? Can I let them know what their power tools are?
Dude, go for it. They need these power tools, man.
Bro, they need these power tools. I want to see people build not just houses. I want to see them build multifamily apartments with these power
skyscrapers,
tools.
Bro.
Skyscrapers.
How do you think the skyscrapers got built? It was the people using the power tools.
It wasn't with a hammer and a screwdriver.
They weren't building it.
Dude, so check it out, right? We've got 6 internal mental faculties, and when I learned about this, I was like, holy crap, this is wicked cool. So our 6 internal mental faculties, and if anyone's listening right now, I'd recommend this is the point where you take out a pen and you write this down because you don't want to forget this. You've got your memory. Right? This is number 1. You've got your memory. And I'm going to go over what each of these are. I'll break them down very briefly.
I'm even writing this down.
This stuff is important.
Boom.
Very important.
Boom.
So we've got memory as one of our mental faculties. We've got imagination as one of our mental faculties. We have will, like willpower. We have will as one of our mental faculties. We have reason, like the ability to reason. That is one of our mental faculties. We have perception. It's such a powerful one. That is one of our mental faculties. And we have intuition as one of our mental faculties. And these 6 mental faculties have been given to every single person. As long as you have a functioning mind, you have access to these 6 mental faculties, and understanding and utilizing these 6 mental faculties will absolutely change your life. So we're not going to dive crazy deep into all of them, but let's just take a brief surface level look at what each of these are. So first off, we have memory. We said like that's a mental faculty, right? What is memory, right? If I asked people, I'm going to get a lot of different answers. I'm just going to give them one simple definition, right? Our memory is our ability to recall the past. Now, Lenny, what would I tell you? What would you say if I told you that the past is made up?
At this point, I mean, I don't know. You could, depending on what you believe, you could believe that's reality or it's not.
Agreed.
I don't really know.
So check it out.
Because my mind is changing, and I'm in the middle of this. So what I used to believe is no longer what I believe anymore. That's just what I thought was real. But my reality now is completely changing on the past, present, and future.
I love that, man. I love that. So check it out, right? And like this is gonna be a little deep for some people to understand, so bear with me, right? Like
We're digging. We're digging, man.
Yeah, the boat's out there. We're in deep water now. We're in deep water, but I promise we'll bring it back to shore. We live in the present moment. If I ever ask you what time it is, there's one answer that would always be right no matter what, which is it's right now. It is always right now. It is a forever right now. So the past is always this thing like behind us, right?
Sure.
That what's interesting about the past, we all agree on it sometimes.
But I think there's different perceptions.
It's a perception, right? Ask 2 people, hey, what did you guys do yesterday? Oh, we went to the movie. Oh, how was the movie? Right? If the past is locked in the stone, they should have the exact same answer. Oh, well, the movie was really short and boring. Oh my gosh, the movie was really long and interesting. Well, which was it? Was it short and boring or was it long and interesting? Both people were at the exact same place, the exact same movie, sitting side by side. Why are we getting 2 different stories about the past? So the past, like you said, it's our perception of it. It's how we perceive the memory of what happened. In other words, it's made up for every single individual. It is subjective to every single individual. Now, of course, you're going to get someone that comes back and says, well, it could be objective. We wrote it down, right? But who wrote it? Somebody subjectively wrote their observation of the past, right? So again, it comes back to it's being subjective, unless we're dealing with finite numbers, right? And even that we can argue, but let's stay surface level here. So let's just say, for argument's sake, for the sake of this experiment here, that the past is something that can be created, can be manifested, can be manufactured. Most people, their past is hurting them. It's a story of all the things that went wrong. Well, if I just told you that the past is made up anyway, why not recreate the past so that it now works in your favor?
Well, what is it? It's people. It's a depressive past and anxiety filled future. That's what a lot of people are programmed by. Why?
Yes.
Why not change?
That's what they're running on. And what they can choose to do is look at the past and from it uncover what was the benefit that I got from that past. What was the benefit? Just like Ed Milet said. Ed Milet said, my father used to come home drunk and he would beat on my family. He'd beat on my mom and beat on my kids, on my sisters, right? And he said, I had at a very young age had to learn how to read dad. Is this drunk dad? Is this sober dad? Which dad is this? Right? And he realized I use that same ability today when I'm in business meetings, when I'm in negotiations. Is this a strong person? Is he weak? Is this the time to ask for the reduction? Is this the time to ask to add this? Like he's like, now I'm able to read people. That skill set developed in me because I had a drunk dad.
He took a negative and turned it into a positive.
He turned it into a positive. He said, this is the reason I'm making all the money in my life.
Bro, and like how simple is all of this so far that we're talking about? Yeah, we're diving deep because it sounds strange. It sounds corny. It's different. But that was my biggest problem. I'm sure you too. It's and unless you want to change, this is how I started on my journey. And why I got into going into business for myself is because in a bad way I could predict my future. or the way I viewed things. And I was like, this is driving me nuts. And when I got results, when I win a championship, win a game, come in first in sales in my job, whatever it was cool for a moment. I worked
Mhm.
so hard. But what did I do? I focused on what I did wrong, even though I got the result I wanted. And just like you had your moment at 18 or 20, this was my moment. I said, uh-oh. I said, there's holes in my ship. And it caused me that I was on a predictable path in the wrong direction. And I was numb, and I was living in the depressive past or the anxiety filled future. And my perception of time was off, and I wasn't in the moment. So I couldn't feel any emotion, positive or negative. So this is what caused me to go deep. And the biggest thing was, why was I choosing to focus on the negatives? No matter if I did good or bad, it was always perfection, or whatever I thought that was. Why not take, if you look at something, I look at everything like a lesson now, as experience. But why not take, whatever, if you didn't get the exact result or do it the way you wanted, look at the positives that came out of that. And look at, just like that story you just told, look at what he learned. How can you apply that next? You can literally take every negative in this world and look at the positives. Even if you butcher a sales opportunity, we were just talking, we all butcher calls and sales opportunities and interactions. But
Yep.
guess what? I guarantee, by just getting on the phone or talking to that person or using a line, you got better at it, or you learned something that you could take into your next one. Or your perception of that, we still fight it. I mean, we're human. We're still not perfect, even though me and you study this. Your perception of what you did could be just your own perception. You could be slipping. That other person could think you killed it. There's been so many times where I'm like, I sucked. I screwed that up. And then they're like, dude, that was literally the best thing ever. You sounded great. And I'm like, that was just my perception. Why am I
Yep.
why am I looking at myself that way? Why not look at everything positive?
You know what? It's funny that you say that too, like the why, right? Why don't we see it? And it's interesting, right? It's because, and here's one reason, here's one explanation for it, just one of many potential explanations. We don't establish yet fully, like in our minds, like cause and effect, because we're still growing. We're still growing up at that young age. We're still figuring things out, right? And we don't quite see the cause and effect to the thoughts we're having today to the reality that we're going to have tomorrow.
We're not looking at the impact or that way, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Because we don't feel it's not instantaneous. And we've been built on an instantaneous feedback loop in this society. Right. Not, and I don't say that as a negative thing. Like, I'm not coming out here
No,
saying like technology is bad. Like, I use technology every single day. I love
dude,
technology.
it's the best.
Right. It's just objective observation of the fact that we have gotten used to things happening so quickly. So when our thoughts come, they're like these little seeds that get planted into a soil, and it takes time for it to germinate. So now when I'm eating bad fruit 7 months from now, and I can't figure out where the heck this bad fruit came from because I don't remember planting the seed way back then. So there's that disconnect. And I
Mm.
haven't been through enough cycles. I haven't been through the pattern enough time to catch on yet, to recognize and finally pattern recognize and say, oh my gosh, I know exactly when I planted this seed. I remember exactly when I asked for this crap sandwich that I'm eating right now. Jeez. Oh my gosh. Like, let me, yeah, let me be very cautious of what I put into the garden next, what I plant next.
Intentional.
When that starts happening, wow, that's insane.
Hmm. Yeah, no, and it comes back to being intentional. You don't got to drive yourself nuts with any of this stuff, but this all comes back to simplicity, man. I mean, you have a choice. You have a choice to look at things in the positive light or the negative, and you produce it. I think the biggest um, turn for me was to realize that it wasn't the external environment that would cause a difference in my life. It was, I produced this inside of me, and that's the energy I choose to release. And just little things. I'm not saying like, I started walking on water or anything like that, but little things throughout my day, and it's a compound effect, and I think the best example, and this is so cool because I mean, yeah, it's been a journey for me, but I've been really deep diving this, documenting it, practicing, mental. This is like working out at the gym, man. We read,
Every
we
day. Yep.
planners and jot down things and manifest. I mean, it takes a while, but you're giving out your energy, and it makes a huge difference, man. I mean, not only for yourself and the mood that you're in, but results start to happen whether you see them at first or you don't. um in a good way, you become predictable.
Dude, it's phenomenal. It's extreme ownership, right? So this is an inside out game, right? Life is an inside out game. And that's why I was alluding to earlier those internal mental faculties, right? Because when we start to realize we have control of that, we stop letting the external environment dictate everything,
So much less
right?
stressful.
The external environment, like it's important. I view the external environment like supplements, but the internal environment is like actually eating the meal,
Yeah.
right? So the external environment, yeah, it can add something, right? But I'm not going to only eat, right, dietary pills and protein shakes. I'm going to go and gather my nutrients from real meal. So that's the internal world, right? That's our imagination. That's our memory. That's our willpower. That's our perception. That's our intuition. That's our reasoning faculties, right? These things allow us to actually formulate. And of all of them, I actually think two of them are very, very strong when put together and coupled together, which is your imagination and your will.
Mm,
Because your imagination this is the cool part. When we were saying how those thought bubbles come into your mind from your
sure.
external world, from your finances, what if I'm in a world that sucks? What if I'm just like, everything around me is just garbage? The people talk bad. The news is always on. Everyone's always fighting and screaming and yelling. Man, like you don't get the only things that ever come into my environment are negative stimulus.
Mm,
Well, cool. Let's tap into the imagination. Let's actually flip the switch on the imagination and start to manufacture thoughts that are now positive, thoughts that are now uplifting, thoughts that are now conductive to that they're helping me build, right? These things that are bringing me and elevating me to a new level so that I can change my vibration and frequency. And what I have to be able to do is couple that with my willpower, because after I create that thought, a lot of people create the thought, but they don't tap into the willpower to hold that thought still,
mm.
hold that thought steady in your mind, to
It's not
keep
easy.
pressing it, like jamming it against the membrane, jamming it until it gets through the wall. And now it's in the subconscious mind where it can now really become effective. That's
And
where we want it. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not until it's in the job's not done until it gets into the subconscious.
dude, and that's actually reality. Your imagination, what's in there, is actually the reality.
That's the real stuff.
That's the where my brain was blown. I was like, I was letting reality cause an effect. I was letting that be my reality, which I had no control of. Why not switch the script, man? How many times did I rely on my mind when, I was in a bad situation, or a sporting event where the game was on the line? What did I do? I dug deep, and I had some mental talks to myself and prepped myself. Why not take on life like that? That's why I love golf, because
Mm.
it's 90% mental, and it's the toughest sport in the world, man. And I think mentally I've gotten better, and I don't get that stressed out or highs and lows. Listen, I mean, golf is one of those games where you go out there and blow up, but it's a test on your mental and how focused in you are and your thoughts going into a shot. Um, but it's crazy because when you play well, you're locked in, and your thoughts align, and you're in a positive zone and you're flowing. But when you're not, you can relate that to everything. You're letting the external environment, you're letting whoever you're playing with get in your head. You're letting that wind. Oh, it's windy today. You're not gonna, I'm not gonna play well. I catch myself doing that all the time, man. It's the golf is so similar to all of this.
It's a game, it's a mental game, right? And this is where, people, it's okay where we struggle with this, right? We as humans naturally, sometimes just struggle with this because no one's teaching this to us, right? And we have this clue, we have this hint on the inside, we got this feeling that there's something more, that we should figure it out, right? But life starts to slowly pull that away because the adults in our lives haven't quite tapped into this, right? But some adults are fortunate, like we're fortunate enough, they bump into our lives and they have figured it out, right? And it's a discipline, right? It's discipline to be able to come back and to use your mind, to not be ruled by your emotions, right? To recognize your emotions, but to not be ruled by them.
Mhm.
And that's such a, I love this stuff. I love these kinds of conversations because it's always, it's never so black and white. It's these areas of gray. It's these areas of, it's like balance. Like I love, like when people look at balance, everyone thinks balance is like finding the middle and like being perfectly
Mhm.
poised. It's like, no, actually, there is no such thing as like being perfectly like centered in the middle, right? It's always a returning to center. That's what real balance is. Balance is returning to center. So anytime we start to get knocked off, right, I might be a little too far on this side. Now I have to use this. Hey, but you said never do that. Yeah, well, now I'm going this far. I've got to come back, right?
Yeah.
Being able to recognize when it's appropriate to utilize something to come back towards the center.
And we're me and you, everybody's still learning. I mean, constant. This is life. So I mean, it is normal to struggle with this, and don't try to be perfect. I mean, that's the wrong message. Just just be aware that you have the
Mhm.
power from within. And what did they say? I forget what audiobook I was just listening to, but if you can be 51% on this side and 49 instead of 50-50 or reverse, the changes that will start to happen, the energy, just 51% in the positive. It will be a ripple effect. Big, small, I mean, you'll just start seeing differences. It's that tiny, it's that simple. So don't stress yourself out. Don't try to fight it because you're gonna waste energy, negative energy trying to resist or fight. Just be aware.
Dude, it's spot on. And you want to hear how funny it is, right? When we start tapping into this energy. So I want people
Yeah.
to understand now, like, I want to give them something that like just happened, right? I was outside the other day. I took a break. I think I told you guys in the morning mindset call that I took a break because I was just like, work was getting a little stressful. I was like, let me go outside. When I went outside, just followed some good energy, followed some vibes. And I just happened to meet this guy who's wheeling these electric dirt bike, like electric motorcycles through the park. And I'm just like, holy crap. The reason this is so crazy is I just made a vision board over the weekend. And on the top of my vision board, Lenny, I got a dude doing wheelies because I want to learn how to wheelie motorcycles. The dude's wheeling a motorcycle. So me and this guy get to talking and we just start vibing on a whole nother level. Like, and he's just like, yo, this is so crazy, man. He's like, I never just talk to a stranger. I never just go this deep. Actually, it's like some of the stuff I'm telling you right now. He's like, my best friends don't even know. He's like, and I was just like, man, I get it, bro. We're on the same vibration. And he's like, look, I got another one of these motorcycles at home. Like, whenever you're gonna go for a ride, let me know. We'll go for a ride. Lenny, today, who do I get a text from? This guy texts me. He's like, yo, bro, I'm going on lunch between 11 and 12. Do you want to go for a ride? I'm like, heck yeah.
What?
Absolutely. Right. We meet up, we're riding this thing around. The energy's good, the vibes are good. He's teaching me how to wheelie this motorcycle. And it's funny
Dude,
because it's a
what?
little thing. Like it's
That's
these little
crazy.
synchronicity. I've been here in Arizona now since November, and I have not come across anyone with a motorcycle yet. The 2 days after I put a motorcycle being wheelied on my vision board, I meet a guy who then invites me to go ride on who has an extra motorcycle
Bro.
to a stranger. He doesn't know me. Lets a stranger ride his extra motorcycle and starts teaching him how to wheelie. And he's actually ridiculously good on his motorcycle.
Bro.
Like, people don't understand. Like, the thoughts are so real.
It's that
Like,
energy you put out, bro. You subconsciously you focused on that, and guess what? You put yourself in a position where maybe that would have been there. But if you wouldn't have had that on your vision board, you would have missed it. because your head would have been somewhere else, or you wouldn't have been in the moment. But that you had that there, you were able to recognize that and seize the opportunity. That's where like abundance and this is trippy stuff, man. I mean, listen, like, so sometimes I'm like, what the heck, what are we talking about? But I mean, how many times have things happened where you're like, whoa, I was thinking about that the other day. Like, it's out there, you just have to be present and pick up. But it's also, that's where it comes in, where writing down, being aligned, having a GPS, cutting the fat. What do you, dude,
Right.
stop. What up?
Yo, let's go.
That wasn't planned, guys. I
No.
swear. Eddie Charger. So I was just in Atlanta, and that best time I met up with Keston. I met up with Gino. I met up with Eddie. I mean, dude, they got a crew down there. But I went out to lunch with Eddie, and he pulled it out of his backpack. He's like, dude, you got to get it, because we were talking about this too.
Bro, the 4 maps, man. I got
And
that.
so he's like, dude, putting those together, man. He's like, you will cut all the fat. And that's the biggest thing too. I'm like, listen, I got my why, I got my reasons, all of that, but on a day-to-day basis, like, I use Waze every day. Even going down to the place that I've been, it's just muscle memory. We don't use maps anymore. We don't memorize things more. It's easy. Why not create that mental roadmap, for what you want to get there faster and more efficiently, less stressful? And these tools that we just shared, the 4 maps of happy, successful people, and then the law of attraction planner. I mean, you pick those things up and you start doing it, you'll be heading in the right direction and not having to, look left and right sometimes, because you have that alignment. That's the secret.
And one of the biggest things, and this is what hurts, right?
That's so funny, bro. You picked up that book. I'm like, it's sitting right here.
Dude, you alluded to this earlier, and this is like where I want to like get practical for people. I want people to really understand. That it's so simple, right? It's so simple. Why doesn't everybody do it? Because it's simple not to do.
Yeah.
That's honestly why. Because of how easy it is to do, it's also very easy not to do. Sure. And although people know this and people agree and people nod their head, right? Like everyone, for example, Lenny knows how to get fit. Everybody knows how to get healthy, right? First off, basic formula. I eat less calories than I burn, and I work out daily, right? If I follow that, for the most part, I should start losing weight, unless there's something seriously wrong with me, right? I should start getting into a better position, right? I watch the amount of calories I'm running in, and I go out and I exercise. Simple formula. But people still don't do it, right? We know that we should be thinking positive. We know that we should be writing our goals down. We know that we should be targeting what we want to hit, but people don't do it. And that's the work that they need to do. But the unfortunate thing is that's not perceived as valuable work, when in fact, it's the most valuable work that you can actually do.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. And it takes discipline, and it's a habit, like everything. And there's days that I skip, I mean, we're all normal. I'm sure you can I wake up some days and I'm like, damn, I feel like shit. Like, I don't, like, listen, we're normal, but I'm authentic with myself. I'm real with myself now. But and before, I think we were all like, I was at least too hard on myself. And listen, that's normal. If you don't, give yourself a break. But guess what? No tomorrow or later on, make up for it. You don't have to stress yourself out about any of this. This shouldn't be painful. It should be an enlightenment. This should be like, oh my gosh, I don't have to go spend money. I don't have to change my whole life. All I have to do is something inside my head is just change my perception, the way I look at things, or the way I choose to think my thoughts. It's easy.
Game changing.
Boom.
So if anyone's listening and you're like, I have no clue how to change,
we're talking an alien.
Yeah. Because some people are like, man, like, yeah, but easy said than done. Look, if you're struggling with this, I can guess one really simple thing about you. You're probably hanging out with people that think small. I'm just being told down. It's like you're hanging out with people that are probably negative thinkers, right? They probably think really small. And some of them probably even have the same last name as you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's what starts to happen.
And that's I'm so glad you brought that up. And there's buckets. You don't have to cut people off. You don't have to be this harsh. I'm gonna do a 180 change. I at first I thought that's what it took. And I'm like, dude, this I don't feel right. This is weird. No, just it comes back to being aware, and put yourself in a position where I joined Collective Genius recently. I'm the lowest person in the room. I've achieved stuff in business, that people look up to, but compared to that, I haven't put myself in the room enough where, I was the smallest people where everybody else was up here. So that's one thing I'm conscious of now that I'm trying to do is to surround myself. That's why I do this podcast. I have amazing people out there that are continuously growing and figuring out themselves. And this is why I do it, to have these type of conversations. So I'm making choices, which, I said I didn't have time for before because I was busy with my business or this and that. Now, you don't have to do this every day, but these little changes or having these little buckets where you get to express or talk to people or be in a room with people once in a while make a difference. You don't have to cut everybody off and do this 24/7. Yeah, you'll get burned out. It's too much. You need to have the buckets, but know appropriately where you have to be.
Yep. And that's where that self-awareness comes in, right? That's where sitting down and being honest with yourself, being true with yourself, reflecting, right? I'll share this with everyone.
I was
I
gonna say
recently
final
did
thoughts because we've been blessing this, but if you want to leave
yeah,
them off
man.
with this, bro.
Dude, yeah, 100%. So check this out, right? And this is me being vulnerable for a second. I sat down with myself and I reflected and I said, you know what? Yo, your mindset's pretty strong. Amazing, right? Your body's in pretty good shape. You're good physically. Where's your spirit at? Right? Where are you spiritually right now? And I had to admit, man, I'm spiritually weak.
Mhm.
I was like, bro, like I've been trying to do this on my own. Like I'm just like, I've been walking away from my career. And that was something that was big for me. And like everyone's in a different place, right? There are people that are, spiritually strong, mentally weak, spiritually and mentally strong, physically weak. So I had to recognize, you know what? My spiritual game is just it's slacking, man. So I had to go start putting myself in different rooms. I had to go start putting myself around different guys, like hanging out with guys like Keston, hanging out with guys like Donovan, where they're like, yo, you think what I'm doing is cool? It's like, yo, it ain't me, right?
Bro.
It's God. Like they're like literally like they're like, don't try and give it to me. Like I didn't do anything, man. I ain't all that hot. And it
Yeah.
was humbling to see these guys who I looked up to, who I consider friends and mentors, saying, yo, it ain't me. So I would have only gotten that perspective by being in the room with them. Right. But if I wasn't in the room with them, I was in the room with everyone else would have still been feeding into my ego. It would have been
Mm.
letting me think I'm not stuff, right?
Bro, that dude, you're bringing up just these are gems, man. I mean, Keston is the ultimate vibe, bro. I visited him, I sat in his house, and I'm like, dude, everybody that left with me, they're like, I feel better. Like the dude is so clear, but there's no pressure. He's so natural with his energy. And like you said, that was my biggest struggle too, man. I'm glad you brought that up. Is there's so much pressure on myself. I have to do this myself. I have all of this was myself, whether you call it God, the universe, the cosmos, whatever, but it's not just it's not you. There's no pressure here. This is where the unlimited or the infinite abundance, the energy,
Oh
you're
man.
just a little piece here, man. I mean, huge. So why are you making yourself out like you're the only thing? You're the only one in the room, dude. It's nothing to do with you.
Man. Yeah, like that's a whole can of worms. Like that's something, people in the Harris talk about that, they're gonna have to come back for round two
I was gonna
because
say part two. We're in there.
that's part two right there.
Well, listen, bro. This was dope. We're definitely gonna have to do a part two. We didn't even talk about our businesses, man. But this is real estate. I mean, well, obviously we're in sub two, Pace Morby. That's how we originally met. But I think, yep, representing it right there. But I think, the whole concept behind this episode and what you guys got to leave with is that it starts from within. No matter what venture what situation in life you can change the outcome of it. Don't let the external environments choose for you, because that's not reality. Reality starts from within, and just a 1% difference can make all the difference.
Love that, bro. Yeah, Lenny, I
Love it.
appreciate you for having me on, man. If anyone inside your, audience ever needs anything, any sort of mindset help, feel free to reach out. They can find me easy on Instagram at Mindset Marlon, right? And
Mhm.
yeah, if you're listening, like, and you resonate with what we say, plug in, like, reach out, hit up Lenny, message me, like, let us know what you're thinking, like, what's going on. You are not alone in the way you think. And hopefully this episode showed that to you.
Boom, man. Get uncomfortable. But dude, follow Mindset Marlon. You'll follow his podcast. Dude, he's got some crazy guests that he's got featured on his podcast. Mind blowing. He's been doing it for a while and dropping gems like this on every episode of his. So follow my man. Appreciate it. Yo, stay in the chat room. We'll talk about that deal that we were talking about before. And tune in next time. All right. Thanks.